What if everything around you was speaking, but not in words? What if the chair you're sitting on is humming a silent tone, the trees outside are pulsing with an ancient rhythm, and even your own body is constantly broadcasting a signature frequency into space? What if reality, as you know it, is not still, but singing? We live in a universe of waves, not walls, a field of vibration, not separation. What you see is only the shell. What you sense, what you feel just beyond language, is the truth beneath. Tonight we travel beyond appearances, beyond the illusion of solid form. We will explore the secret language of the universe where space is alive, objects remember, and every human being is a signal wrapped in skin. Prepare to question everything you thought was silent, because nothing is still, nothing is mute. Everything is broadcasting, including you. We've been taught to see the world as static, objects as dead, space as empty. We were taught to measure reality by what we could touch, weigh, or explain. But long before the microscope and the telescope, ancient mystics already knew the world is alive. Everything vibrates, everything radiates. Energy does not stop at the edge of skin. Matter is not mute, it sings. Every cell, every stone, every silence holds a frequency. You are not walking through space, you are swimming through signal. And in this invisible ocean of vibration, everything you think is still is actually speaking. Have you ever walked into a room and felt something off, even though no one said a word, or held an object and sensed memory in your hands? Have you stood beside someone and felt strangely drained or deeply uplifted without understanding why? These are not coincidences, they are evidence. You are sensitive because you are meant to be. You are not only a receiver, you are also a broadcaster. In this episode, we peel back the veil. We'll explore how space, matter, and consciousness are not separate, but symphonic. Get ready to remember the truth. You are a signal, living inside a universe that listens. Chapter 1, The Silent Symphony of Space, Why Emptiness is an Illusion. We are taught that space is empty, a void, a silence, something that holds but does not speak, surrounds but does not live. But this is the illusion of the eye. The mind, trained to seek form, misses the music between the notes. The truth is, space is not empty. It is vibrating, singing. It is the unseen substance that holds the memory of stars, the dreams of matter, the whispers of thought itself. If you listen closely, not with ears but with presence, you can feel it. You can sense the living breath of space. Physics calls it the quantum field, a sea of probabilities, a storm of subatomic potentials. Particles blink in and out of existence, not randomly but rhythmically. They pulse like hearts, they shift like wind. They do not live in solid boundaries, they exist in waveforms. And between these waves there is no absence. There is energy, pure, uncollapsed, dancing energy. You're not moving through emptiness, you are immersed in an ocean of invisible vibration. Ancient mystics knew this long before equations could prove it. The Taoists called it the Tao, not a god, not a substance, but the flowing order of all things. Hindus spoke of Akasha, the subtle etheric plane that holds sound, memory, destiny. The Kabbalists whispered of Ein Sof, the infinite presence before creation. Indigenous wisdom keepers sat in silence, not because there was nothing to hear, but because silence was the place where everything spoke. They did not see space as lifeless. They saw it as the womb of spirit. Have you ever walked into a cathedral and felt something holy before a single word was spoken? Have you entered an empty room and suddenly felt unease or peace or sorrow without cause? That is space speaking. That is vibration, residue, resonance. What you call stillness is not the absence of movement. It is a different frequency of motion. So slow it becomes still, so subtle it becomes presence. This space, this field you are constantly swimming in, is listening. It holds every word you speak, every thought you emit, every feeling you radiate. Space is a mirror. It reflects what you carry, even if you cannot see it. That's why your home can hold anxiety or calm. That's why forests feel sacred. That's why sacred sites, no matter how ancient, still hum with invisible energy. Because space remembers, it absorbs, it broadcasts back. It is not inert, it is intelligent. The illusion of emptiness is comforting to the rational mind. It gives us the illusion of separation, that this wall is just a wall, that between you and I is nothing, but between you and I is everything. Vibration, breath, emotion, subtle threads of connection. You are constantly intersecting with the fields of others, even in silence, especially in silence. When words fall away, vibration speaks louder. Your body feels this, even if your logic doesn't. You sense someone's presence before they speak. You feel a room's mood before a meeting begins. You lie awake at night and feel the energy of the house shifting. These are not hallucinations. They are your nervous system responding to space. Because you are not just a body in space, you are an energetic instrument, tuning in to the invisible music all around you. Once you begin to accept that space is not empty, your relationship with the world transforms. You stop seeing objects as separate. You stop treating silence as absence. You start listening with your skin, with your breath, with your field. And space becomes your ally. It becomes your teacher. The pause between words reveals more than the words themselves. The gap between heartbeats becomes sacred. The stillness of a room becomes a sanctuary. Space is where the soul expands. It is not nothing, it is potential. It is the field where intention becomes reality, where vibration becomes matter. When you meditate, you're not entering nothing, you're entering the deeper layers of the field. When you pray, your words are not just sound, they are waves sent into space, received by the living universe. When you walk mindfully, space responds. It cradles your presence. It adjusts to your awareness. And so the invitation is this: begin to walk through life as if space is alive. As if every room you enter is listening, as if the chair you sit on is holding memory, as if the silence between you and another person is a sacred field of potential. You don't need to fill every gap with noise. You don't need to rush to speak. Let space speak. Let it breathe with you. When you begin to honor space as sacred, your entire life slows, not in laziness, but in reverence. You stop pushing, you start aligning. You don't just occupy space, you co-create with it. Your movements become prayers. Your home becomes a temple. Your breath becomes a tuning fork. And in that shift, you begin to feel it, the symphony, the silent symphony beneath it all, a vibration that has no beginning, no end, a soundless sound that is older than stars and closer than breath. You are not walking through dead air, you are walking through song. And this song is waiting for you to listen, to respond, to harmonize. So pause, feel it, and know the space around you is not empty. It is awake, and so are you. Chapter 2. The Memory of Matter. How Objects Store Emotion and Energy. 1,000 words continuous text. We tend to think of objects as neutral. Tools, things, possessions, decorations. Inanimate, lifeless, empty of spirit. But what if that isn't true? What if matter is not mute, but a silent witness? What if every object holds a story, a vibration, an emotional imprint that lingers far beyond the moment of touch? What if the things we hold, the places we walk through, the clothes we wear, and even the walls that surround us are remembering? This is not fantasy, this is frequency. In the world of quantum mechanics, we learn that matter is not truly solid, it is condensed energy. At the most fundamental level, what appears to be a chair or a spoon or a book is actually a lattice of energy patterns, vibrating at specific rates. These vibrations interact, they absorb, they reflect. Just as a crystal can hold a charge or a tape can store sound, objects can hold emotional resonance. The more intense the emotion, the deeper the imprint. This is why you can walk into an old house and feel the heaviness of grief lingering in the walls. Why touching a letter written by someone long gone can stir tears from a place you thought was dry. Why a child clings to a stuffed animal for comfort. It isn't just the shape or the softness, it's the safety encoded in it. Memory is not only biological, it is energetic, and it lives in matter. We don't just wear clothes, we wear energy. The ring passed down from your grandmother holds more than metal. It holds history. It holds her warmth, her rituals, her prayers. The necklace you wore when your heart broke carries a faint echo of sorrow, still vibrating softly beneath the surface. The bed you shared with a lover still whispers the memory of your body's closeness, long after touch has faded. Objects become extensions of emotion, containers of experience. They do not judge, they do not alter the story, they simply record it. And when you touch them, they speak, not in words, but in resonance. Sometimes you don't know why you can't sleep in a particular room, or why a thrifted item makes you feel strange, or why you instinctively cherish a certain mug above all others. It's not logic, it's energy. The ancients understood this. Sacred objects were not simply symbolic, they were alive with intention. Temples were built to align with celestial rhythms, and every stone was considered part of a larger consciousness. In Tibetan Buddhism, even the bowls used for offerings are consecrated because they are believed to carry spiritual essence. Indigenous tribes treat every object made by hand as a living participant in the spiritual world. The drum is not just a tool, it is a spirit carrier. The mask is not a costume, it is an embodiment. Matter in these traditions was never considered dead. It was honored as memory made tangible. In our modern world, we have forgotten this reverence. We accumulate things mindlessly, wondering why our homes feel cluttered but our souls still restless. We treat matter as disposable, not realizing that we are filling our spaces with layers of unresolved energy. Every object we keep holds a signal, and when those signals conflict, when our spaces are filled with emotional static, we feel it. We just don't have language for it. This is why cleaning your space can feel like therapy. Why letting go of something you've clung to for years can suddenly make you cry. Because you're not just decluttering, you're releasing vibration. You're rewriting the emotional broadcast of your environment. And when your environment shifts, your inner world responds. It also means you have the power to program matter. Your altar, your journal, your favorite pen, these are not just tools, they are partners in ritual. When you place intention into an object, when you bless it, touch it with awareness, use it in sacred ways, it begins to hold that frequency. Over time, it becomes a tuning fork for your practice. It reflects you back to yourself. This is not superstition. It's energetic logic. You are an emitter. Matter is a memory field. This is also why breakups feel so haunting. Why certain objects must be thrown away, burned, or buried. Because they are still vibrating with what you've outgrown. They are holding on to frequencies you've moved beyond. And as long as they remain in your space, those frequencies keep whispering. Not maliciously, not loudly, just enough to tether you to a version of yourself you're ready to release. So what do? You begin with awareness. Look around you. Feel your space. Not as a collection of things, but as a field of silent broadcasts. What feels heavy? What feels alive? What objects carry stories that no longer serve your growth? Which ones still sing your truth? Hold your belongings with presence. Listen. Ask what they're holding. Ask what they're echoing. Let your intuition speak. You will know. You always do. Then cleanse with intention. Not just with dusting and sweeping, but with breath, sound, smoke, salt, sunlight. Let your room feel your clarity. Open the windows not just for air, but for release. Speak aloud. This space holds only what honors my truth. Let it be a ritual. Let it be reclamation. And finally, choose with care. When you bring something new into your life, don't just ask, do I like it? Ask, will this hold the frequency I wish to live in? You are not just decorating, you are curating a broadcast, a resonance field, a living temple. Matter is not memory by accident, it's memory by design. And you, as a being of awareness, have the power to listen, to clear, and to co-create. The objects you love, the tools you use, the spaces you inhabit, they are not background. They are signal, they are vibration, they are mirrors. So walk through your world with reverence, touch with intention, let go with gratitude. And remember, the world is not just observing you, it is remembering you. And everything you touch, touches you back. Chapter 4, Resonance, the language of the universe. There is a language older than words, older than thought. A language spoken not in letters or sound, but in vibration. It hums beneath speech, dances beneath light, moves in silence. It is not taught, but remembered. It is not heard, but felt. This is the language of resonance, and it is the true voice of the universe. Everything that exists vibrates. Everything. From galaxies to grains of sand, from your thoughts to the beating of your heart, every atom pulses with rhythm. Nothing is truly still. Even what appears solid is a symphony of particles in motion. And where there is vibration, there is frequency. And where there is frequency, there is resonance. Resonance is what happens when two vibrations align. When one wave meets another and they begin to move together. Not by force, but by harmony. It is why a tuning fork will cause another fork nearby to vibrate in sympathy. It is why singing in the right pitch can shatter glass. It is why your soul softens in the presence of someone whose energy feels familiar, even if you've never spoken a word. Resonance is not just physics. It is memory. It is recognition. It is truth vibrating in two places at once. You've felt it. That moment when a song you've never heard before moves you to tears. When you step into a space and feel instantly calm or instantly uneasy. When a conversation flows effortlessly, as if your thoughts are harmonizing before they even form. These are not coincidences. These are signatures of resonance. Two fields meeting, two signals syncing. You are not only capable of resonance, you are shaped by it. You become what you attune to. Spend enough time in anxiety and your nervous system begins to mimic it. Surround yourself with clarity, and you begin to think more clearly. Stand in the presence of someone deeply rooted, and you will find yourself grounding without effort. We do not just affect each other with actions. We affect each other with vibration. Long before the mind understands, the body has already begun to tune. This is how healing happens, not through logic, but through coherence. A healer does not fix you. They offer a vibration that your body remembers. They hold a frequency of safety, of love, of stillness, and your field begins to match it. Your body, your breath, your heart, they begin to resonate. It is not magic, it is entrainment. The way two pendulums swinging near each other eventually fall into rhythm. The way a child calms in their mother's arms. The way you feel yourself returning to yourself in the presence of someone who needs nothing from you, yet sees everything in you. And so, the question is not just what do you do, but what do you resonate? What frequency are you holding, not just in intention, but in embodiment? Because you cannot fake vibration. You can smile and still broadcast fear. You can be silent and still radiate peace. People feel the signal beneath your words. The universe responds not to what you say, but to what you are. This is why inner work matters, because unresolved pain distorts your signal. It creates interference, static, disharmony. You might speak of love, but if your field carries resentment, the message is fractured. You might meditate, but if your mind races with self-judgment, your vibration remains chaotic. Clarity is not achieved through pretending, it is cultivated through resonance. You begin to clear your field not by striving, but by aligning, by remembering your true note, the note beneath conditioning, beneath fear, beneath performance. Every soul has a natural frequency, an original resonance, and when you return to it, everything begins to feel like music again. Life flows, synchronicity increases. You meet people who reflect your truth, not your trauma. You find yourself moving through the world with less effort and more grace. And this doesn't mean you won't be challenged. Resonance does not mean agreement, it means alignment. And sometimes, the most powerful resonance comes from contrast, from encountering a different vibration that calls your field to rise, to stretch, to evolve. These moments can feel like friction, but if you stay with them, you will discover growth. Resonance is not comfort, it is coherence. It is the soul recognizing what brings it back into harmony. This also means that when you shift your frequency, your relationships shift too. Some people will fall away, not because of conflict, but because the resonance has dissolved. The vibrational agreement you once shared has expired. Others will enter your field with uncanny timing. Souls you were always meant to meet, now able to find you because your signal is finally clear. This is not personal, it is vibrational law. You attract what you are, not what you want. So if you wish to change your life, don't start with the outer world. Start with your frequency. Start with the tone you hold when you are alone. Start with the resonance of your thoughts, your words, your breath. Ask yourself, what vibration do I offer this room, this moment, this planet? Because everything you emit is a message, every emotion, a signal, every state of being, a broadcast. And the universe, this vast, intelligent, listening universe, is always responding. So learn to tune yourself the way a musician tunes their instrument. Gently, daily, with attention and care. Return to silence not as escape, but as calibration. Return to nature not as entertainment, but as alignment. Breathe with your belly, speak with your heart. Live in a way that allows your signal to be clean, clear, and rooted in truth. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be present. Resonance does not demand flawlessness. It invites coherence. It calls you to be in harmony with what is real within you. The rest will follow. And as you walk through life in resonance, your field clear, your presence stable, you will begin to witness miracles. Not loud, not dramatic, but quiet miracles of recognition, of being seen, of feeling known, of watching reality rearrange itself around your vibration. This is not magic. This is the music of the universe. And now, you are learning to play it. Because resonance is not something you find, it is something you remember, something you become. Chapter 5. Thought as Signal. How the mind transmits into the field. We tend to think of thought as something private, something that lives quietly inside our skull, fleeting, harmless, invisible. But this is a misunderstanding, because thought is not just mental, it is electrical, it is energetic, it moves, it ripples, it broadcasts. Each thought you have is a signal, an emission of frequency sent into the subtle field that surrounds your body and extends into space. You are not just thinking inside your head, you are thinking into the universe. Modern science has begun to confirm what the mystics have long whispered. The brain emits measurable electrical activity, producing wave patterns that shift with our states of consciousness. Alpha, beta, theta, delta, each one a unique vibrational state. But these waves don't stop at your skin. They extend outward, interacting with the electromagnetic field of your heart, your body, and the collective field we all live within. This is not metaphor. This is measurable reality. Your thoughts form patterns, both energetic and emotional, and those patterns create impressions in the subtle field. When you think the same thought repeatedly, it becomes a frequency loop. It gains strength, it reinforces itself. This is why repeated thoughts become beliefs. Beliefs become perception. Perception shapes experience, and experience feeds back into thought, completing the energetic cycle. But here's what most people don't realize. Your thoughts are not just reflecting your reality, they are helping to create it, not by magic, but by resonance. Thought is energy. Energy attracts similar energy. When you think with fear, your field tightens. When you think with compassion, it softens. When you think with clarity, your field becomes coherent, and coherence has power. It aligns, it attracts, it heals. This is why mindfulness matters, not just for inner peace, but for energetic hygiene. Because a thought is never just a thought, it is a seed, and seeds grow where attention flows. Every judgment you hold sends out a signal. Every worry you ruminate on becomes a vibration others can feel, even if they don't know why. This is why some people drain you even when they're smiling. Their mind is broadcasting static. Their field is thick with unspoken fear. You don't need them to say it. You feel it. And this is why being around someone with a clear, calm mind can feel like medicine. Their thoughts are not fragmented. Their field is not chaotic. They carry an inner stillness that speaks louder than any word. You find yourself relaxing in their presence. Your breath slows. Your own thoughts begin to quiet. This is the power of mental vibration. It is contagious. It is formative. It is real. So ask yourself, what signal are you sending? What is the frequency of your inner dialogue? Is it rooted in truth or in fear? Is it looping from the past or creating the future? Is it echoing someone else's voice or your own? You don't have to become a saint, but you do have to become aware. Because thought, unchecked, becomes noise. And noise creates distortion in your field. It muddles your intuition. It clouds your clarity. It scrambles your ability to resonate with truth. But thought, when trained, when tended like a sacred garden, becomes a clean signal, a focused wave, a light beam. This is why ancient mystics taught mental discipline not as repression, but as liberation. Mantra, prayer, breath awareness, visualization. These were not rituals of superstition. They were tuning techniques, methods for refining the signal of the mind, tools for bringing thought into alignment with spirit. The goal was not to stop thinking, but to choose thought consciously. To think as a creator, not a captive. You can begin this now. The next time a fearful thought arises, pause. Don't follow it. Don't fight it. Simply observe it. Ask, is this mine? Is this helpful? Is this true? And in that pause, you interrupt the transmission. You reclaim authorship. You shift the frequency. This is not suppression. This is mastery. Thought without awareness is noise. Thought with awareness is power. As you begin to think with intention, you'll notice your life responds differently. Not because you're manifesting in the popularized wishful sense, but because your field is cleaner, sharper, more congruent. Opportunities begin to appear, not out of thin air, but because your signal is finally being heard without distortion. You begin to attract what matches your clarity, what aligns with your true signal. And yes, there will still be challenges, but they won't feel as chaotic, because your inner field is no longer amplifying the noise. You're not broadcasting fear, you're transmitting presence. And presence is magnetic. It doesn't need to force anything. It simply holds a frequency the world recognizes as real. Your thoughts matter, not just because they affect your mood, but because they shape your field. They sculpt your vibration. They are the architecture of your reality. Each thought you choose is either a wall or a window, either a cage or a current, either a distortion or a divine note in the music of the cosmos. So choose them wisely and treat the space of your mind with reverence, not as a battleground but as a temple, not as a dumping ground for fear but as a sacred transmitter for love, for clarity, for truth. Because in the end, you are not just thinking, you are broadcasting, and the universe is always listening. Chapter 6: Emotion as Frequency. Why feelings travel beyond the self. Emotion is not weakness, it is not chaos, it is not the messy byproduct of being human. Emotion is energy in motion. It is frequency made fluid. It is vibration with memory, with momentum, with direction. And like all frequencies, emotion radiates. It moves, it transmits. It extends far beyond the boundaries of your body and into the field around you. When you feel something, you don't just experience it, you emit it. This is why you can feel the weight of sorrow in a room before anyone speaks. Why joy can erupt in a crowd like a tidal wave. Why a single child's laughter can soften the hearts of strangers nearby. Emotion is not private. It is not locked inside your ribcage. It is a living broadcast. The moment it arises, it begins to travel. We are emotional transmitters, whether or not we intend to be. Your field pulses with every feeling you carry: anger, love, grief, peace. These are not simply sensations. They are wavelengths. They influence others. They ripple into space. This is not just poetry, it is physics. The heart's electromagnetic field, shaped by emotional state, extends far beyond the body and has the capacity to entrain or disrupt the fields of others. When you're angry, your signal sharpens. When you're in love, it expands. When you're afraid, it contracts. And the people near you feel that shift, often before they understand why. Emotion shapes energy, and energy shapes experience. This is why a space filled with unresolved grief feels heavy, even after years. Why sacred places feel light, even if they're silent. Emotions leave traces. They embed themselves in places, in objects, in people. They are vibrational fingerprints. But this truth also reveals a deeper one, that emotional responsibility is spiritual responsibility. If your feelings travel, if they impact others, then what you carry matters. Not in a shaming way, but in an empowering one. Because you are not helpless in the face of emotion. You are its steward. You do not have to suppress it, nor do you have to drown in it. You can feel deeply and transmit clearly. You can transform a wave of sadness into a field of empathy. You can ground fear into presence. You can lift confusion into clarity. The alchemy begins when you stop reacting and start resonating. Emotion becomes distorted only when we resist it. When we deny grief, it becomes depression. When we suppress anger, it becomes resentment. When we fear our feelings, we become fragmented. But when we feel them fully, when we allow them to move through us without judgment, they become fluid again. They move, they release, they complete, and in doing so, our field clears. This is why the ancients wept in ceremony, why they danced through rage, why they sang through longing, because they understood emotion is meant to be expressed, not imprisoned. It is a cleansing current, a language of the soul, a wave that wants to return to the ocean. Let it, trust it, ride it. You are not meant to feel less, you are meant to feel cleaner, brighter, more clearly. Not all emotion is yours to hold forever. Some are visitors, some are echoes, some are inherited from your lineage, absorbed from the collective, passed through subtle fields. Learn to discern. Ask, is this mine? And listen. Often, your body will answer before your mind can. A deep exhale, a softening in your shoulders, a truth too quiet for words but loud in vibration. And if you discover that you are carrying emotion that does not belong to you, release it. Not with force, but with reverence. Speak it. Move it. Let it find its way back to source. You are not a dumping ground for energy. You are a sacred transmitter, and your field deserves to be clear. But even your own emotions are sacred, even the uncomfortable ones. Anger is not a sin, it is a boundary. Grief is not weakness, it is devotion. Fear is not failure, it is a call for presence. Joy, peace, ecstasy, these are not indulgences, they are recalibrations. When you allow yourself to feel fully, you become whole again. You become real again. And in that wholeness, your field harmonizes. As your emotional awareness deepens, so does your ability to influence. You begin to walk into a room and shift it, not by saying anything, but by feeling something clearly. You anchor joy and the space lifts. You embody calm and others breathe easier. You radiate truth and masks begin to fall away. This is leadership. This is resonance. This is sacred influence. You begin to understand that your emotional frequency is not yours alone. It is a contribution, a ripple, a broadcast. And if you tend to it with care, with courage, with love, you begin to emit something that heals, that harmonizes, that awakens. This is why self-care is not selfish. It is service. When you process your pain, you purify your field. When you choose compassion over bitterness, you emit coherence. When you face your shadows, you stop projecting them into others. Your emotional work becomes spiritual work. It becomes planetary work. Because emotion, like light, travels. And so the invitation is this: feel deeply, feel clearly. Let your emotions move, but guide them with presence. Don't speak from chaos. Don't transmit from panic. Wait until your field is rooted, until your voice rings true, until your energy speaks the message your words cannot. Because your emotion is not just a sensation, it is a signal, and the universe is listening through feeling. You don't have to hold back, but you must hold awareness. You are a powerful transmitter, and your emotion, when conscious, becomes frequency with purpose. Be mindful of what you carry. Be tender with what you release, and know that every feeling, honestly felt, lovingly held, becomes a wave of truth, rippling far beyond what the eye can see. Chapter 7. Energetic imprints. How places remember what happened there. Some spaces speak without sound. You walk into a room and feel something tighten in your chest, or soften. You step into a cathedral, and your breath catches, not because of the architecture, but because of the presence. You enter a forest clearing and are suddenly moved to tears without knowing why. These moments are not imagination, they are recognition. What you're feeling is the residue, the echo, the energetic memory of place. Because just as people carry vibration, so do places. Space does not forget, it records. We tend to think of memory as something personal, locked inside the mind, tethered to the brain. But memory also lives in energy. It lives in stone, in soil, in air. Every event, every emotion, every prayer or act of violence leaves a vibrational footprint. Space absorbs what happens within it, and when we enter that space, we feel what it holds. This is why certain houses feel heavy no matter how many times they're cleaned. Why some rooms seem to whisper, even when they're silent. Why temples, even long abandoned, still hum with reverence. The walls remember. The ground remembers. Not in words, but in vibration. Emotion leaves a trace, intention leaves a pulse, and time does not erase it, it layers it. Science is only beginning to glimpse what ancient wisdom always knew. Quantum fields are influenced by observation, by interaction, by energetic input. The material world is not separate from the emotional one. It is shaped by it. Dr. Masaru Emoto's work with water revealed that molecules could be altered by thought, by prayer, by sound. If water can store memory and you are made mostly of water, then so can places, so can objects, so can air. Indigenous cultures have long honored this truth. They walk with reverence, they greet the land before they enter it. They speak to the wind, the fire, the river, not as metaphor, but as relationship, acknowledging that these elements hold memory, that they respond to presence. In their world, nothing is inert. Everything listens. Everything remembers. Sacred sites are not sacred by accident. They are places where thousands of footsteps over centuries carried the same prayer, the same devotion, the same stillness. Energy compounded, crystallized, amplified. That's why your mind quiets when you walk the path of ancient pilgrimage. The frequency has been set, the space is tuned. But the opposite is also true. War zones hold trauma. Fields once soaked in blood remember grief. Prisons hum with pain long after they're empty. Hospitals carry echoes of both birth and death. These spaces are not neutral. They hold the charge of what they've witnessed. And when you enter the field. You step into the echo. This is why it matters where you work, where you sleep, where you sit to pray or create. The energy of a space affects you, not just your mood, but your field. Your body knows before your mind. That subtle unease when you move into a new apartment, that sudden clarity in a quiet library, Your nervous system is responding to imprints. It is reading the room, not as metaphor, but as frequency. But this truth is not cause for fear. It is a call to awareness. Because just as energy imprints are absorbed, they can be cleared. Just as pain leaves a residue, intention can restore coherence. A house filled with sorrow can become a sanctuary through ritual, through sound, through presence. A space thick with tension can be softened by breath, by music, by laughter. You are not a victim of the field, you are a participant. You leave a trace. You tune the space. When you walk through life with this awareness, everything becomes sacred. You no longer rush through rooms, you bless them. You no longer ignore discomfort, you inquire. You ask, what does this space hold, and then, what do I wish to bring? You become a weaver of vibration, a keeper of space. You move through the world as ceremony. This is why practices like smudging, ringing bells, chanting, burning incense, opening windows are not superstition. They are frequency medicine. They disrupt stagnant patterns. They invite light back in. When you clean your house with intention, you're not just removing dust, you're clearing the emotional atmosphere. You're rewriting the energetic story, and it works both ways. Your own energy leaves imprints too. Your home reflects your frequency. Your desk absorbs your thoughts. Your bed remembers your dreams and your worries. This is not to make you paranoid, but conscious. Conscious of the signals you send, the footprints you leave, the atmosphere you're cultivating, not just in yourself, but around yourself. So if you've ever wondered why some places feel like home the moment you arrive, it's resonance. If you've ever felt inexplicably drained in a certain corner of your own house, it's a call to clear. If you've ever cried in nature without understanding why, it's the earth reflecting what you're finally able to release. You are not alone in space. You are in relationship with it, a continual silent conversation. And when you begin to honor this, when you live as if space remembers, you begin to live more cleanly, more clearly. You become a guardian of your field and of the fields you move through. Before you speak, feel the room. Before you sit, bless the seat. Before you begin, breathe into the space around you and ask, what lives here? What needs clearing? What can I offer? Because when you honor place as living, it begins to open, to soften, to sing. And you in return begin to feel more at home, not just in your house, but in your life. Because you are no longer just passing through, you are weaving resonance into the world. And the places you love will remember you. Long after your footsteps fade, they will hold your signal in silence, waiting for the next soul who will recognize the song. Chapter 8. Human Presence, How You Influence a Room Without Speaking. You enter a room and something changes. The air shifts ever so slightly. No words are spoken, no movements made, but others begin to feel you. Their posture adjusts, their gaze moves. Perhaps someone suddenly becomes quieter, or more open, or unsettled. They may not even know why, but your presence has entered the field, and the field is listening. Long before you speak, you are communicating. Your energy arrives first. Your vibration precedes your footsteps. It fills the space around you like a fragrance, subtle, invisible, yet undeniable. You do not need to do anything. You already are something. You are a field within a field, and your presence ripples into the room like a stone dropped in water. The question is not whether you influence the space around you. The question is, with what are you filling it? You have felt this in others. The woman whose presence feels like a balm, who calms you just by sitting beside you. The child whose energy lights up the entire house even while quietly playing. The man whose very presence tenses your body before he even opens his mouth. We read people not only with our eyes and ears, but with our bodies, our breath, our intuition. Because presence is not subtle. It is the first language of the soul. Your presence is made of everything you carry. Your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your silence, your integrity, your unresolved pain, your unspoken love. All of it radiates from you, not as personality, but as frequency. You cannot hide what you haven't healed. You cannot fake what you haven't embodied. Your presence speaks in every room you walk into, and everyone, consciously or not, hears it. This is why two people can say the same words, but only one moves you. Because presence gives the words weight. This is why leaders inspire not with volume, but with inner stillness. It's why healers heal, not through technique, but through coherence. It's why some people are magnetic, not because they are loud, but because they are real. To cultivate true presence is not to become someone, it is to become yourself, fully, clearly, undistorted. You don't need charisma, you need coherence. You don't need perfection, you need authenticity. Presence is what happens when your body, mind, heart, and energy are aligned. When you say what you mean, when you stand in what you believe, when your inner state matches your outer expression, when there is no contradiction in your vibration. And this alignment cannot be faked. The room knows, animals know, children know. They respond not to what you say, but to what you carry. If you smile while thinking judgment, the field registers dissonance. If you speak truth with fear, the vibration is incomplete. But when you are fully congruent, when you show up clean, steady, whole, something happens. The space harmonizes, people exhale. Truth becomes easier to speak, hearts soften. Because your field is safe. Because your presence gives others permission to be present with themselves. You have this power, not as control, but as contribution. Your presence is not about dominating a space, it's about elevating it. It's about anchoring a vibration that others can tune into. You do not need to convince, you only need to be clear. You do not need to fix, you only need to be true. Because presence does not demand, it invites. And this invitation matters more than you think. In a world addicted to noise, to performance, to surface, presence becomes a form of quiet rebellion. To be truly present is to slow down, to be rooted, to be unshaken by the chaos, to be empty enough to hear and full enough to hold. It is not passivity, it is profound power, because nothing transforms a room like someone who is fully there. So how do you cultivate this presence? You begin by coming home to yourself. You slow your breath, you listen to your own inner weather. You clean the clutter of your mind. You ground your energy into the earth. You speak only when your words arise from truth, not habit. You move with attention. You release what does not belong to you. You become so intimate with your own field that nothing outside you can shake it. And when you do this consistently, when you live in this state of presence, it ripples. You begin to walk into meetings and people listen more attentively. You begin to sit with a friend and their pain finds space to breathe. You walk through your home and the energy lightens. You pass strangers and something unspoken softens between you, not because of what you do, but because of what you are radiating. Presence is not taught in school. It is not rewarded by algorithms, but it is remembered by the soul. When you meet someone with deep presence, something ancient in you awakens. You feel safe, you feel seen, you feel the unspoken hum of truth. This is what we're truly yearning for. Not more information, but more transmission. Not more interaction, but more resonance. And the beauty is, you don't have to change who you are. You only have to become what you already are. Without the noise, without the distortion, without the masks. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be real. You don't need to be enlightened. You only need to be here, fully. Without rushing to the next moment, without fragmenting your attention, without shrinking your truth. You influence every space you enter. Let that be sacred. Let it be intentional. Let your presence be a healing force, not through effort, but through alignment. And when you forget, return to your breath. Return to your body. Return to the vibration of stillness that lives beneath all motion. Because your presence is not just something you carry, it is something you offer. And sometimes it is the most powerful gift you can give. Chapter 9. Collective Vibration, the broadcast of cultures, cities, and systems. Beyond the individual field lies another layer of vibration, vaster, more complex, and just as alive. It is the field of the collective, a resonance woven not by one person but by many, by generations, by choices made and stories told, by architecture, language, memory, and ritual. Every culture emits a vibration, every city hums with a frequency, every system radiates a pulse. These larger energies are not abstract, they are real, they are palpable, and you feel them, often before you understand them. Have you ever stepped into a new city and felt the emotional temperature shift? Some places make your chest expand as if freedom lives in the sidewalks. Others make your shoulders tense as if old fear still lingers in the concrete. You feel it in the pace of walking, in the tone of voices, in the color of the sky at sunset. Cities speak in energy. Cultures do too. Not through brochures, but through resonance. through the weight or lightness of the collective emotional field. We call these vibes, but they are far more than moods. They are imprints, broadcasts from the soul of a place. Because just as a person holds memory in their body, a city holds memory in its buildings. Just as a family carries inherited patterns, a nation carries ancestral frequencies. These energies are transmitted through action and silence alike, through celebrations, through trauma, through policy, through unspoken agreements. Collective vibration is not static. It is formed by the emotional average of its people. By what is repeated, what is normalized, what is suppressed. A culture that values harmony will emit a frequency of surface calm, but beneath it, disowned anger may accumulate, thick and unspoken. A city that prizes achievement may shimmer with vitality, but may also hum with exhaustion, competition, or loneliness. These signals are not seen, but they are deeply felt. You have felt this, even if you couldn't name it. The cultural fatigue after too long in a place that doesn't align with your soul. The strange relief of traveling somewhere that matches your inner rhythm. The subtle grief of knowing you've inherited pain that wasn't yours, but lives in your lineage, your skin, your story. You are not just an individual walking through space. You are an energetic being walking through fields of collective charge. And these collective fields affect you. They shape your thoughts, your reactions, your body's tension. If a system is built on fear, you will absorb that fear. If a community values conformity, you may silence your truth without realizing it. If an entire nation is holding unprocessed grief, you may find yourself weeping and not know why. This is not weakness, it is sensitivity. You are reading the collective signal. But this sensitivity is not a curse, it is awareness. And with awareness comes responsibility, not to fix the whole but to remain conscious within it, to feel the signal but not become it, to observe the broadcast but not be programmed by it. This is where your individual sovereignty becomes medicine. Because when your field is clear, you can walk through dissonance without losing your rhythm. You become a tuning fork, not a sponge. And this matters more than ever, because the collective field is changing. Old systems are collapsing. Old frequencies are being stirred. We are in the midst of a great retuning. The noise is louder, the friction greater, not because we're breaking, but because we're shifting. Because unconscious collective vibration is being brought into light. And those who can hold presence in this storm, those who can broadcast coherence, clarity, truth, are not just helping themselves, they are helping the field. This is the deeper meaning of spiritual work. It is not just for personal healing, it is for collective calibration. When you clear your trauma, you stop leaking fear into the field. When you speak your truth, you create resonance in places where distortion once ruled. When you embody joy, even in a grieving world, you remind others that joy is still possible. You become a node in the network, a lighthouse, a frequency holder. And your impact is not measured by followers or fame. It is measured by signal strength, by coherence, by the silent ripple of your vibration into the collective sea. You never know who you're affecting. You never know whose life shifts because your field was calm that day, or because you smiled instead of judging, or because your grounded presence gave someone else permission to exhale. You will never know the full extent, and you don't need to. Resonance doesn't need recognition, it simply needs truth. So when the world feels heavy, remember, you are not powerless. You are a broadcaster. You cannot control the whole field, but you can tune your own. And when enough individuals hold that intention, hold that resonance, the collective begins to change. Not instantly, not loudly, but undeniably, like a new note introduced into a dissonant song, like harmony slowly spreading through chaos. This is how cultures evolve, not through force, but through frequency. Through one person choosing love where fear has been, choosing clarity where confusion has ruled, choosing truth over comfort, presence over numbness, healing over silence. You are not separate from the collective. You are a thread in its fabric. Every thought, every choice, every breath adds to the song. So walk your city like it is listening. Speak to your lineage like it can hear you. Sit in your home like you are anchoring a new tone into the walls. Let your presence be a quiet revolution. Let your life be a ripple of coherence. Because the collective field is not a force to fear. It is a symphony we are all composing. And you, dear soul, are one of its instruments. Play well, Tune often, and may your broadcast echo far beyond what you can see. Chapter 10. The Conscious Signal, Becoming a Clear Channel of Your Soul. There is a signal beneath your name, beneath your thoughts, beneath your personality and preferences. It does not come from your past. It is not shaped by culture nor confined by language. It does not shout, but it never ceases. This is the signal of your soul. The original tone of who you are, not the role you play, not the identity you've been handed, but the frequency you came here to embody. And when you become quiet enough to listen, when you become clear enough to allow it through, you become something more than a person. You become a channel, a clear transmission of soul into form. This signal is always broadcasting, even in your confusion, even in your numbness. But for most, it is buried beneath noise, buried beneath the stories, the wounds, the roles, the inherited vibration of others. What people call awakening is not the acquisition of something new. It is the unraveling of what never belonged. It is the remembering of the original signal, the one that existed before conditioning, before separation, before fear. The one that says, I am here, I am light, I am already whole. To become a clear channel is not to become more. It is to become less distorted, less reactive, less entangled with what is not you. It is a process of refinement, of releasing static from your field until what remains is signal, pure, steady, coherent. This is not about perfection. It is about alignment. When your outer life matches your inner truth, your signal strengthens. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions harmonize with soul, the transmission becomes radiant, and others feel it. Even if they can't name it, they are moved by it, because the soul recognizes the soul. A conscious signal is unmistakable. It doesn't try to convince, it simply resonates. It doesn't react, it responds. It doesn't seek validation, because it carries the vibration of self-knowing. You can feel it in a wordless gaze, in a grounded silence, in the way someone walks through the world without needing to prove anything. A conscious signal is presence that has remembered itself. But clarity requires courage, because becoming a channel of your soul often means releasing the versions of you that were built for approval, for safety, for survival. It means grieving the identities that no longer fit. It means stepping away from noise, not to escape the world, but to return to the voice beneath it. And it means learning to trust that your inner signal knows the way, even when the outer path is unclear. This is the soul's language, subtle but steady. It speaks in knowing, in resonance, in the deep yes that rises without reason. It speaks through intuition, through synchronicity, through the ache to create, to serve, to love without condition. It is not a voice that shouts, it is a current that pulls. And when you stop swimming upstream, when you surrender to its rhythm, you don't disappear. You arrive. You begin to live differently. Not just more mindfully, but more electrically. Your presence sharpens. Your words carry charge. Your silence speaks. You don't need to reach outward because you are tuned inward. You become a source, not a seeker. Not because you know everything, but because you have learned to listen. And in that listening, you become a vessel. For wisdom, for peace, for truth. A conscious signal is not a brand. It is not a curated identity. It cannot be copied or manufactured. It is born from the inner alignment that comes when you no longer betray yourself. When you no longer override your intuition. When you choose integrity over image, stillness over performance, wholeness over applause. You do not shout your soul into the world. You live it, moment by moment, breath by breath, until the light within you speaks louder than anything you say. And your soul does not demand you be perfect. It asks only for honesty, for coherence, for the willingness to show up again and again as who you truly are beneath the noise, to feel deeply, to walk gently, to speak with precision, to love fiercely without losing yourself. That is a clear signal, not a performance, not a mask, a vibration that heals by existing. As your signal becomes clearer, you begin to see how everything responds to it. Opportunities arrive without effort. Relationships deepen or dissolve, not because of drama, but because of frequency mismatch. You feel guided, not by external signs alone, but by inner certainty. Life no longer feels like a maze. It feels like a rhythm, a dance, and you are both the dancer and the music. And even when chaos arises, even when the world trembles, your signal can remain steady, because it is not reactive. It is not caught in the winds of fear. It is tuned to something deeper, the pulse beneath all pulses, the truth beneath all appearances, the divine frequency that says, I am. This is the final layer of energetic awareness, not just to sense the signals around you, but to refine the one you carry. Not to mimic the field, but to become the field. Not to borrow light, but to radiate it. And from that place, you no longer search for purpose. You become purpose. You no longer ask for signs, you become the sign, a walking vibration of truth. And when you live this way, others begin to feel it, not as inspiration, but as invitation to clear their own signal, to remember their own song, to broadcast their own light. Because a soul in alignment doesn't just glow, it transmits, it awakens, and so the invitation remains. Clear the noise, tune the signal. Let your life become a sacred transmission, not of who you were told to be, but of who you truly are. What if the most profound spiritual awakening is not about finding something new, but remembering what's always been there, just beyond your perception? What if the space around you is not silent, but sacred? What if the table in front of you is vibrating with the echoes of hands that built it, memories that passed through it, energies that rested on it? And what if your body, your thoughts, your feelings are not just yours, but part of a broadcast into the greater whole? When you begin to tune in, you'll see that nothing is lifeless, no space is empty. You'll walk into a forest and feel the intelligence of trees. You'll sit in silence and sense the language of stillness. You'll begin to understand that your sadness, your joy, your clarity, they ripple, they resonate, they shape the field. The question is not whether you are broadcasting. The question is, what are you broadcasting? And in that awareness, your life begins to change. You speak less, but your presence speaks louder. You walk more softly, but your vibration travels farther. You stop seeking outside and start tuning within. Because your clearest signal doesn't come from effort, it comes from alignment, from coherence, from truth. So breathe, feel your own field, and know this: you are not separate from the space around you. You are its echo, its instrument, its voice. You are not walking through a quiet universe, you are part of its song. Now, finally, you're learning to listen. If this video awakened something deep inside you, a sense of recognition, a soft remembrance, don't let it fade. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone whose spirit is listening beneath the surface. Help spread the signal, because there are others just like you, quietly tuning in, waiting to hear the broadcast of their own soul.